And we're live.
All right, folks, we are back again for another live topic. So, this week, I want to talk to you guys about how to go about managing your dog on Thanksgiving and, some type of etiquette for Thanksgiving and having your dog, at dinner, some do's and don'ts, some foods, the food do and don'ts and things of such. Because I know having guests over, whether you're going out to your family's home or whether family's coming to you, there's certain things that you want to prepare your dog for to make sure it all goes smoothly. Um,
Yep.
Scott, will this be Archie's first Thanksgiving?
No, he's had many, but
He's like, oh no, he has many. He's a
he's
pro.
we used to get him like there used to be like this thing like you would buy from the pet store, and it was like a
Yeah.
dog Thanksgiving dinner. So it had like
Oh, nice.
flavors and like turkey in it and that sort of thing. And so
Mhm.
we would get a special. Sometimes we do it for Christmas too, and it's just like his own little dog turkey dinner that I guess it was
Yep.
like freeze dried. I forget exactly what it was, but it was pretty cool, and he
Yep.
really enjoyed it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
oh, okay. So yeah. So hope. So did you ever have any problems with Archie at Thanksgiving, or was he like just chill?
It depends. So like it depends on the family side, and also
Exactly.
generally he's pretty chill, but also he's like tall enough sometimes where he can get out the head onto the table, and so he just
Hmm.
puts his chin on the table, and then he'll look at you, and
Yep.
then you're like, okay, and then so not everyone appreciates that.
Yeah. Or there's that family member who's like, I'm just gonna give him a little piece, and you're like, no, like
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. Or
So
like there's something on the table that he can't have, and you're like,
yep.
whoa, don't do
Yeah.
that. Or right?
Exactly.
Or
True
like other
story.
people are just like very not impressed with the chin on the table, so we have to be like go go go, and then
Exactly.
and so like once or twice we've like put him in a bedroom so that he doesn't during dinner time
Exactly.
with his water, so he doesn't like bug people, and not
Hmm.
everyone is like the same tolerance level and that sort of thing, right?
Exactly. And that's what I want to talk to folks about today because each dog is going to be different. And
Yeah,
so but it's general principle around, etiquette and having people over and stuff like that. So I just want to hop right into it.
yeah,
So first things first, folks, whether you're going to have people over for Thanksgiving or whether you're going to someone's house, you want to always ask the host first.
yeah.
Okay. Even if they love your dog to death and they think your dog's the most wonderful dog in the world, you always want to ask first, like whether you can bring your dog over or if you're going to have guests come over to your house, let them know, like, hey, my dog's going to be out and about. Even if they do know that your dog's going to be there, you just want to give them a heads up that, your dog's going to be kind of moseying around. But again, if you are going to bring your dog out to someone's Thanksgiving, just ask first. Don't just assume that it's okay for them to come because Thanksgiving's always already a stressful time with preparing dinner, the guests and stuff. And the last thing they would want, is the wonderful dog that they always love to kind of, be in the way. So just make sure
Yeah.
that you're asking.
Especially even if they have their own dogs, don't just assume that
Exactly.
because they have dogs, you can bring your dog. You gotta be.
Exactly.
You
Don't
never
yeah, don't
know,
assume
right?
that.
So
Exactly, exactly. Also, dogs, holiday seasons can be very stressful for dogs as well, and I'll
yeah,
talk about this a little bit later. So, for fearful dogs and dogs that are allergic, you may want to consider leaving them at home. And, Thanksgiving, taking them out may not be the best option. Or, if you're having Thanksgiving at your home, maybe giving them in a little area where they can kind of chill out. If that sounds like your dog, but again, just being courteous, and asking the host if you can bring your dog. Another thing, before Thanksgiving starts, tire your dog out. Tire your dog out. Give him some exercise. Thanksgiving is loud, chaotic. Your dog's going to be running around. So we don't need any extra energy coming from the dog. So it's helpful if you guys take them out for a walk, play some games with them, so they're not so anxiety driven and just like pacing
yeah.
around the house and getting into things. So just a long walk before guests start to arrive and stuff. Even giving them mental stimulation games like the Kong, using Find It, like I talked about before, tossing treats on the ground for them to find, exhaust them out. So just anything to get them exhausted before guests arrive is ideal.
And then they're more
Um,
chill too. It's like you just want them to be relaxed, and then they won't be as like
exactly.
reactionary too, which is a big thing, right? So yeah, that
Mhm.
makes
Does Archie get excited when a lot of guests come over in general, or like for like
he gets
Thanksgiving?
excited when the door's knocked or when the doorbell happens, and so
Okay, we'll
and
talk
then
about that. Yeah.
it depends, right? Because he's a little peculiar because he has a weird thing with men that are like taller than like 6 feet. So and
Hmm.
then he's very standoffish, and so it depends on the people. and you never know. But he's like generally good temperament, but with
Yep.
new people, he's always like, he's either really good with them or super unsure. So you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly. And that's, yeah. And so that's why, even giving him something to do before time,
Yeah.
to exhaust him a little bit, he's not going to be so anxious when that tall guy comes in too.
Yeah.
Another thing people probably don't think about, give your dog a bath. Give your dog a bath. If your dog, plays at the dog park all day, rolling around, doggy daycare and stuff, we want polite smells at Thanksgiving. So just take that. People don't really think about that, but take that into consideration.
Yeah.
People are gonna be petting your dog. Guests will be there. You want it to be pleasant smell. You want to smell the turkey or ham or whatever you're cooking. So make sure that. And I know a lot of folks do that. I know I do that as well. Like schedule a groomer before Thanksgiving. Not that necessarily my dog is funky, just because I'm like, oh, let's have them look cute for the holidays. So just giving your dog a bath, or just making sure they're a little fresh, giving them some doggy cologne if so. But just grooming in general. One big thing, like you're talking about, making sure your dog cannot get into the food, making sure food is off limits. And I know that's a hard one for Thanksgiving. So a way to manage that is, if you can, pushing all the food into the center of the table, maybe having the food in a different room and blocking off access to the food area, so your dog's not going to jump up on the table.
Yeah, for counter surfers, you got to watch out, right? So yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So the management and blocking off access to the food is more about the dogs, not the humans, unless you have humans that are jumping up on the table, which I highly doubt.
It's a different story and a different time, I think. So
yeah. So just containing the food, pushing it back so the dog's not jumping up, being rude, trying to get the turkey bones and things like that. Making sure the trash is off limits. I know a lot of times, I know even for my Thanksgiving, I have a latch for my trash can so my dog can't get into it, but I know for Thanksgiving I use the bigger barrel and the dogs are ready to pounce on it. So making sure that either you can see the trash can, where if your dog's going over there, you can redirect them, or making sure there's some type of lock or latch so they're not getting into the trash. Especially a big thing too, I know for me, is like when I go to bed at night after Thanksgiving, it's like Christmas for the dog. So just making sure things are cleaned up and put away and stuff like that.
You never know what's going to get dropped from the table, what scraps are going to fall, especially if there's kids at the tables and that sort of thing. Right? So,
exactly.
Yeah.
So they'll get more and enough freebies if kids are coming over for Thanksgiving, because they tend to drop stuff all the time. Also, to avoid a quick trip to the vet during Thanksgiving, I want to talk about foods that are okay for dogs and things that are not okay. Just because a lot of folks don't know and they just assume, we can just give the dogs anything. So some foods that are okay for the dog, of course, turkey meat is okay for the dogs. Sweet potatoes, pumpkin are all safe and healthy foods, actually, to share with your dogs. Things that you don't want to give your dogs are bones, of course, because they can choke and things of such. Sweets are never good for dogs. Alcohol is not good, even if you think it's cute to kind of give them a taste. Of course, fatty foods aren't good for anyone, but especially dogs. So those are kind of foods that you should avoid giving your dogs on Thanksgiving. No one wants to go to the vet the day of Thanksgiving. Does Archie have a favorite food for Thanksgiving? I know you give him that meal. Does he anticipate that each year?
Not so much, but he's recently got into broccoli. So broccoli is always a nice taste. Vegetables. So like if he can get his hands on like some red peppers, something like that. Obviously turkey would be nice, but we don't always give him stuff like that. And so we try to limit, like, I guess, human food and that sort of thing, other than veggies for the most part. But things get dropped, there's kids, and then he's not really the scavenger type as much. He just like, for whatever reason, he's pretty good as far as waiting for permission to go and eat stuff. So
good.
Thankfully, but you never know. So we keep an eye on things, and but I think when he gets a taste of like a meat, like a turkey or like bacon in other scenarios, then and if there's more on the table or something, he's just right there. So
exactly. And so that's why you just want to make sure you watch your dog, manage them. Also think about bringing a crate or portable crate to, if you're going out to a family member's house, to give your dog time to decompress, or if they, you never know what's going to happen if they get anxious or they get, rambunctious and they need some downtime. So just bringing a crate as well. And another thing about feedings too, try to either feed your dogs before folks come over, so they're not like scavenging for food in advance, or try to feed them at the same time people are eating dinner. If you know, you guys have a scheduled Thanksgiving dinner time, so they're not like bothering you and everything like that. Because it's understandable folks want their dogs to be part of the Thanksgiving celebration, but you just want to be sure that you know, they're not being too much of a bother to folks. Some questions to ask yourself too that you might want to think about is, how do you make your dog comfortable around a bunch of guests and strangers in your home? Again, piggybacking off of exercise, making sure that your dog's getting all that energy out, taking them to the local dog park before time, playing fetch in the backyard. Also, if your dog gets triggered by doorbells and people ring your doorbells, I know Thanksgiving's a few weeks away, but you don't want to wait till Thursday to kind of acclimate your dog to the doorbell ringing back to back. So you can do some training with doorbell ringing multiple times a day. So what that looks like is ringing a doorbell and giving your dog treats, ringing a doorbell, giving your dog treats. And what your dog learns is that every time the doorbell rings, they'll get a treat instead of barking. So you're going to start that training now and, you know, get some training underway. So they'll be looking to you for treats instead of, you know, barking every time someone rings the doorbell. And that one's just a good one to continue even past Thanksgiving. Also,
awesome.
Yep. And also, you want to think how are you going to manage your dog around the children and on Thanksgiving and preventing them from the nipping, the jumping, the running, the playing, because especially if you have puppies, this is going to be a big one. For starters, people, keep your dog on a leash. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. It gives you better control of the dog. So if you're walking around holding a leash, like I said, and I tell my clients all the time, especially with potty training, you can actually flip the leash onto you and the dog. Or in this instance, what I'm really talking about when leaving a leash on, the dog is like a drop leash. So just leave it onto the dog, let them walk around with it on. So if it is an instance where you have to grab the leash and get the dogs from playing with the kids, you can do so. Also, teach the kids how to play with the dog. So I always encourage I'm a family dog trainer, so I always encourage my family with kids to give the kids something to do. So from starters, you know, before they even come in, even talk to the parents. I'm always an advocate. Talk to the parents, you know, before Thanksgiving. Hey, when the kids come over, I'm going to give them treats and actually practice them tossing the treats to the dogs. That way the dogs are not like coming to, you know, playing with them in their hands into action. They're like away from the dogs. Just giving them stuff to do, you know, having a dog, training them sit. If you're doing any type of training with your dog, get the kids in on it, you know, actually giving them instructions and things to do versus just running around and playing with the dog. It's going to be ideal when managing kids and things.
That probably avoids the kids also trying to run up and grab them or run up and give them a hug or like pulling their hair. Then they're actually doing stuff, and now they're integrating with them, but they're not as tempted to just like bug the hell out of the dog and do things the dog won't like and that sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And the next one, which I talked about before, is once a guest arrives and everyone is set to eat, how do you keep your dog from begging? And even besides Thanksgiving, I tell folks, if your dog is a beggar and if you're having meal times, you can either put them in a crate, you can feed them at the same time you're eating so they're not begging at the table. Also, make the dinner more enticing for Thanksgiving. If your dog's eating dry food, mix it with some wet food. You can put some turkey in it to make it more enticing. If your dog is a fast eater and you're thinking, you're listening to this like, oh yeah, right, my dog's gonna eat before we're even done, put it inside a Kong and stuff it and freeze it before Thanksgiving, so that buys you more time and they have to work through, you know, the duration of it all. You can also give your dog, if you use like a hollow bone, you can stuff it. I know not turkey bones or anything like that, but like doggy bones and stuff.
Bones,
Exactly. You can stuff it and let them eat through it that way. But basically, it's all about distracting your dog while you're eating. If this was like a training thing, you would want to train your dog to leave it. That's a whole other thing. But as far as managing your dog on Thanksgiving,
and they have these balls now where you can, like, if your dog does dry kibble, you can give some of the food and dinner and then take like a portion of the dry kibble, drop them on the ball. They have to roll it around to get the kibble out.
I love those.
Busy, right? So then they're just rolling the ball around for like majority, because like we do with Archie now. We'll take some of his lunch, some of his dinner, and he's rolling that thing around for at least 10-15 minutes.
Exactly. Right? I love the ball that disperse treats as you roll. The dogs really get into that. It gives them exercise, and I'm always a fan of that in addition to the Kong, but even more so that because it gets them moving around. So that's definitely another thing you guys can do for Thanksgiving. So yeah, those are the tips I have for you guys for Thanksgiving and managing your dog on that day. I hope you guys are able to take away some cool tips in managing your dog and to have a great Thanksgiving. Also, if you have friends that can utilize these tips, please share this video.
Sure.
It's helpful for, not like I said, it's not only helpful for Thanksgiving, it's just general etiquette around manners and dinner time with your dog as well.
And we have Christmas coming up. We have a bunch of holidays coming up. You know, it's the reason we're not doing this like right before Thanksgiving is to give everyone a chance to actually start working on these things before the event actually happens, start working with them, training, thinking about it and that sort of thing, right? So hopefully it will help for all the holidays, but especially with Thanksgiving coming up and tons of families getting together, hopefully help them out a lot more with their dogs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this live and you guys will join us next week for another great topic. And you guys have a great day.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.